baby. Baby, are you taping? Oh, yeah. Hey, 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 hey. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Baby, baby, come on. Baby, come on, baby.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We try to give you a little bit of energy. Welcome to Mac and Free is unscripted, but our names are not important. I am Mac. He is the world-renowned, after 82 downloads, B Freezy. What's going on, big baby?
What up? I'm going to take that title and I'm going to run with it. World-renowned. If I still look like a clown. Let's get it.
Look, world-renowned with 82 downloaded. Oh, the rhymes. They come in droves, people. Don't get mad at me. Don't
Man,
you
let me say something.
congratulate.
I ain't heard around that type since the check man.
Yeah, man, you know, and some of y'all know who the check man is, and some of you don't. And if you don't know who the check man is, congratulations, because you are absent of all the stories that we could tell. And we thought about doing some segments on this show, just going through my weird stories from probably 1991 to 2005. Like I could literally write a book just telling stories. It would be paperback, of course, and it would have animated pictures in it. But I could probably write a book just telling the weirdest stories of all time, ranging from 92 to about 2005. Like none of the stories make sense. One of them involves me being kidnapped by aliens. All you need to know is if I tell you I'm kidnapped by aliens, you better believe that story. It happened. Because that's how weird it gets for me. But with that being said, man, let's jump right on into it. So this morning, your cousin, Donald Trump, by the way, he released a tweet.
Talk about my family.
But he released a tweet. And in the tweet this morning, it was about, he retweeted a group of Trump supporters riding around on golf carts saying, white power. And of course, in, Trump supportism fashion, his minions came out with statements that were, no. That's not, he had no idea what he was doing or what he was retweeting, or he didn't hear all of the video and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, wow, this is either very brazen racism or stupidity. Either one is going to come back down to Donald Trump should not be the president of the United States. So, Free, I have to ask you, in your mind, when you heard about this morning, because again, for everyone who is listening to us right now, we are disseminating this information as of this morning. We just got it. We're going through it and understand that, he just said this as we decided to record. So, and if you want to jump in on these conversations going forward, please be sure to follow us on Twitter, Mac and Free on Twitter, Mac and Free on Instagram, Facebook, names are not important, Snapchat, anywhere so you can become a part of these conversations. We really do want to entertain what you have to say in regards to this, and when we start going live, we will give you the chat information to do so. But with that being said, Free, let me know what you thought this was once you heard about it and you got the information.
Well, first, Mac, let me say this. I'm going to leave the name calling for the SYAD segments that you do later on in the show. Okay. But I just think it just goes once again to show the negligence. And what I mean by this, let's look at the history of how many statements or tweets or things that have come out recently to where President Trump's team has had to answer for or atone for, but yet he rarely comes out and says certain things about it. And my thing is whether or not he knew what they were saying, because it was stated in the video they were saying white power in the video. And whether or not he knew, it still shows the negligence that you would retweet something, which means you're authorizing it or standing behind it without viewing it all the way through or understanding what was being conveyed in this video.
Which makes you intellectually impaired. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. But it goes back to what we've talked about on many shows and how we have to be careful with these social media platforms.
Right.
Because, you know, I tend to think, and we can say what we want about the president, but I tend to think that he's not intelligent enough to say, I'm the president, I'm just going to retweet something that I just looked at the first few seconds of it.
And that's
now, I've sent some stuff out I haven't completely looked, but usually I know the source that they might be coming from, and it's usually a trusted source if I do that.
But see, hold on, let me stop you right there, because here's the difference between you and Donald Trump. Because here's what's plausible, so people can understand exactly where I'm coming from. Here's what's plausible in this situation. One, it's very plausible that you could see a groundswell of support for you, not watch it all the way through, and then you send something out. We've all done that. We're all guilty of it. When we didn't read it all the way through, it seemed to fit the agenda that we have, and we like, you know what, I want everybody else to know about this. I've caught myself within minutes most of the time where it's like, nope, that can't go out. I didn't realize it said that at the end. Let me stop this from anybody associating this with my name. And again, I'm not anybody. But when you're the president of the United States, this is the reason why it's the difference. You're the president of the United States in an era right now where racial sensitivity is everything, especially towards your reelection cause. You need the groundswell of report from as many people as you possibly can. As you can see, your poll numbers are dropping. So if you're not cautious enough or alert enough as the president of the United States, these are things that football players have to be more cognizant of so that they don't have their names attached to stuff like this. But definitely if you're the president, if you don't know that, you probably need to go back and look at that to make sure that it does not have the wrong message attached to your name. That makes you an idiot because you're the president of the United States. It also makes the people surrounding you idiots because that means they can't keep up with what you're doing real time. And that means, this isn't name calling for me, what I'm doing right now, because I think when you look up the words idiots and morons, and then you see what they've done this morning, they fit. The only other title that you can attach to these guys are racist, because that's the only other thing it could be. You can't tell me that this was a simple mistake without attaching the word idiot and moronic to it. But you also can't tell me that it wasn't a mistake without attaching racist to it. Now, you can definitely be both. I'm for that. Like, you could be all of the above, or you're one or the other. But in this multiple choice option, and the floor is yours, Free, is not neither. Because neither's not on the ballot for you. You're one, the other, or both. There's not a neither option here.
Yeah. And you walk that line because once again I say it's negligence either way, because it's negligence in the fact of, if we don't believe and think that he knew what the message of this was, you're still putting out information out there in the atmosphere that brings divisiveness because of what these individuals were saying. And I know they were going back and forth, they said, with other protesters calling them names. Right. So I'm not condoning either of the name calling, but what I am saying as the president, no matter how much you say, well, these people are supporting me, you have to be mindful of what is going out in that message. And what you are putting out displays divisiveness and the problems that we're facing with one another based on political issues. They shouldn't even get to this. if we're totally for Americans.
Right.
Now, if there's a message that's come out that says something different, then it leads to the exchanges. But I don't think we should be perpetuating that, especially as the president at this time. We should be putting something out that's giving an educated, logical explanation of those that your constituents that support you, to give reason to that it may enlighten somebody, but not giving to them going back and forth in a shouting match trying to up one. I just think it's negligence all the way around on the part of the president, and no matter how you explain it away, it's just very telling of how he misuses a lot of things and sends these mixed messages. Everybody on his team has to apologize for. And I always argue with some of my right-wing friends as well. I just say, when is he going to step above certain things and not get caught in the that's what I want to see.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, is
it's almost like he's trying to prove something.
Yeah, is it a reasonable expectation to get that out of Donald Trump? Because again, and I keep saying this, and I'm probably getting on people's nerves, but bump it, it still holds true. The only thing I needed to see in Donald Trump's character was eye-opening in Small Potatoes. That's a documentary on ESPN's 30 for 30. Once I saw that, it was like, wait a minute. And it forced me to look up Donald Trump and dig deeper into his past. And I mean, in the 1970s, there was a court case that he had for housing development or housing authority issues and housing discrimination in New York, where there were the black tenants, him and his father, by the way, not just him, but he and his father were discriminating against black tenants and black tenants only. But as a result, was renting to only white tenants during that time. Like, Donald Trump has a history, like, this is in his history. So it's not eye-opening to see this show up and then be surprised. Like, I'm not surprised by it when I see it, because this falls within his history. Donald Trump has a long history of lawsuits in this particular area, and they're all racially charged, and they're all about discrimination. And when you hear his rhetoric, he is who he is. And what's that old saying? When someone tells you who they are, believe them. I think that's a Maya Angelou quote. You got to believe them. And in this particular situation, like, when are we going to believe him when he says stuff like this? When is it going to be plausible to go, you know what? Maybe he is racist. I don't know. Because when you hear him say things like, and let's go into this for a minute, Free. We got a little time. When you hear him say stuff like what he's done for black people, like, let's justify that. Because I'm really sick of you Trump supporters trying to justify what he's done for black people. For one, what he's doing is benefiting from what the Obama administration had done for the economy and how it was affecting black people. That stuff started with the Obama administration. It's taking place right now. And you're seeing the after effects of the policies that they put in place. So that's number one. Number two, criminal justice reform. Let's debunk that BS now. Criminal justice reform started during one of the Bush administrations. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was during George Bush Sr., because we had the lowest black imprisonment rate during President Carter. Following President Carter, we had the Contra, I guess you could say the Contra conspiracy and the boom of crack cocaine in the 80s. And as a result of that, we had the Just Say No to Drugs campaigns and the DARE campaigns. And then they were sending black men to prison in droves during the